Okay, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for showing up to this session today. I'll be talking about Dynamo for Civil 3D. But before I start, I would like to know from you how many of you already are using Civil 3D? Please, by show of hands. Okay. How many of you are using Dynamo? Okay. How many of you are using Dynamo for Civil 3D? Just one. Okay. Okay, perfect. So the purpose of this presentation is to walk you through what happened with Dynamo, how Dynamo evolved, what is Dynamo for Civil 3D, right? And what are the expected benefits or workflows that we currently have for this new update on Dynamo, okay? So I have a long list of things to cover. I'll definitely go over all of them, depending on the time we have. And then towards the end, I'm going to talk about generative design. Finally, we have something that is generative design for infrastructure project from Autodesk, okay? And I will tell you the details, how you can access this, how you can test it yourself towards the end of the presentation. Just very quick introduction about myself for those of you who never met me before. I am an AEC technical specialist working for Autodesk, based in Dubai, focusing on the infrastructure solutions, okay? I handle or take care of products like Civil 3D, vehicle tracking, InfraWorks, 3ds Max, geotechnical module on top of Civil 3D, SSA, and others. All of these are within the AEC collection, and definitely we have the cloud platform, which is BIM 360. My background is a civil engineer from the American University in Beirut. I have multiple certifications because I worked in the construction industry, and now I'm with Autodesk for the past 6 years. So overall, I have 12 years of experience in the AEC industry. So let's start a little bit, before talking about generative design or Dynamo or anything, talk about the differences between computational design and generative design. We all know that we humans evolved over time, right? So we started by a simple tool like this. We created it to do something simple. Then we came up with more accurate tools. And then we came up with design tools like AutoCAD, like Revit, like Civil 3D, etc. And these became on a tablet on different platforms. The common theme between all of these tools is that all of them is what we considered passive. They wait, they cannot do anything without our action, right? We have to do something for them to create something in digital life or in physical life. What we want to move to, and what Autodesk is investing in, is how we move from passive to generative design. Okay, so this is all considered passive. The AutoCAD, the Revit, everything is considered passive. We want to move into generative design. The regular process of designing things, whether it's a product, a road, a building, or anything, usually follows this usual process. So we start with a certain, let's say, concept or a couple of concepts during the design phase, right? We get those concepts into evaluation. We find if they're okay or not. Maybe we can reiterate back on them, change a few things, and then check not only just for the evaluation part in terms of parameters, requirements, etc. We want to check, in this case, it's manufacturability, but in our case, AEC, we check for constructability, right? Once we finalize, we get the final product that is most refined, most optimal. We move it into validation and then production or construction. That's the normal way how we do things, right? The generative design process is completely different. We start with just highlighting the requirements and the parameters. And we'll see, for example, for a road alignment, maybe we need a certain, we have certain requirements like for the slopes, the length of the road, certain maybe cost estimates, cost requirements, etc. So we assign everything in the beginning of the design phase, the parameters and the requirements. We get thousands of options using the generative design tool or engine. And then directly from this phase, early on in the process, the iteration phase, what we call, we can basically pick the best optimal design for refining further later on and producing. So this is the major difference between the two. Hence, if we want to summarize what is generative design, it's basically a design exploration technology. Nothing more, nothing less. It's based on two major things: setting the constraints. I'm limited within a certain area. I have certain avoidance zones I want to avoid, etc. And the requirements. That's simply it, to simplify things for generative design. Okay? So, generative design is taking the power of humans, we as engineers and designers. We're augmenting that with machine learning, the algorithms, the project refinery, let's say, from Autodesk. And we are leveraging the unlimited cloud computing power to come up with those millions or billions of options to then filter out through these and pick the best option. That's basically what is generative design. And then you end up having, different objects. This is just one case from manufacturing, designing a drone that is lightweight, that's a certain dimension, etc., etc. How do we pick the best option? As the lady addressed yesterday in the keynote, we have scatter graphs, and we have these charts that allow us to see how the different designs basically function or perform against the different criteria. Okay, that's simply it. So where are we now in infrastructure? The process goes from the left to the right. So yes, we have parametric modeling, right? We have AutoCAD somewhere here, but we have parametric modeling tools in Civil 3D and Revit. We are moving into visual programming, and this is where Dynamo is very powerful. Exactly towards the end of the traditional design phase, we're starting to tap into the generative design processes using option generation. We'll see that in Project Refinery, then optimization, and definitely machine learning towards the end of the process. Okay? So currently for infrastructure, we're somewhere here. Okay? Dynamo and Project Refinery. If we want to dig deeper into the tools, this is how the tools basically line up based on the different level of intelligence. Design automation, as I said, we all know this. Dynamo in here with some other tools, Project Refinery, and then something else in machine learning. What do you notice about this slide over here, the different levels? What's the common theme, the common product among them all? It's Dynamo, right? So Dynamo is the one used in design automation. Dynamo is the one used for computational design. And believe it or not, Dynamo is a precursor or a prerequisite for generative design, whether it's for Revit users or 3D users. You can't basically design things in Project Refinery if you don't do things first in Dynamo. So this is a major thing that we have to understand and put into perspective. Okay, so this is the high level, generative design, computational design, and where Dynamo fits. What is Dynamo for Civil 3D? Same like it's for Revit. It's an open source programming platform, meaning anyone, anywhere can design or basically write scripts, right? We can find free scripts online through the package manager and download them. It's a visual interface because it's not only about coding, it's also having a visual environment where I can see what type of geometry I'm creating or what I'm querying or getting information from, as well as the type of query or script that I code is based on nodes, connected nodes with wires. We'll dig into this later. One of the major powers of Dynamo is geometry creation, whether it's building objects, road objects, transportation, what have you. Workflow automation. How can I automate? We've seen the presentation yesterday from Dar al-Handasa. How can we automate workflows between different platforms? Revit, Civil 3D. How can I get information from Excel files, CSV files, even connect with BIM 360? And I'm going to show you something interesting, a package that you can download that has a lot of additional features to Dynamo. Okay? And as I mentioned, interfacing between multiple software. I have an asterisk here because this is getting more and more over time. So Dynamo started with few products. Now it's including other products as well in its library. So Dynamo basically is perfect with the Autodesk vision, or let's say mission. So we want to do something, we want to do more of the complex modeling. We want to have better design, better consistency, and definitely do that with less effort and less time. So Dynamo, using these simple scripts, is allowing us to do all that. And Dynamo is called within the Autodesk environment as a low-hanging fruit. So imagine this like a tree of the different levels of programming languages. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's definitely harder than designing things in pencil or paper. It's definitely more advanced than interactive tools like Revit and Civil 3D, but it's less intensive or less hard to understand how to do things in Dynamo versus Python, C#, .NET, and C++. Okay? I was surprised yesterday that some of our customers in Egypt, they're now actually designing or creating plugins in .NET. This is really good. So they're actually above and beyond Dynamo. But for those of you who are still in this phase, you can leverage and get a lot of benefit from using Dynamo. So what is it for customers that Dynamo is important, right? It's simply put automation, you name it. These are just some of the examples. How you can reduce man hours, ensure data completeness, improve collaboration. And who is it for? Any engineer, any designer, any draftsman, who wants to automate the drawing production process. I talked about it yesterday. These are the perfect users of Dynamo for Civil 3D. Okay, few myths and truths, since not all of you maybe know about Dynamo. Don't need to know how to code to use Dynamo. Do you think this is a myth or a fact or a truth? What do you think? Okay, true. You don't have to know anything about programming, just a little bit understanding of how Civil 3D saves the objects in its database. That's all what you need, and some understanding of the nodes, but you don't have to script code anything yourself in any of the programming languages. Dynamo is only for modeling. Do you think it's only for geometry creation? We can extract information from the objects. We can create CSV files, create reports, and many other things as well. Dynamo equals Civil 3D API. Exactly, perfect. So currently, and this is lucky for us, Dynamo, since its release, and I'm going to talk about the progression of Dynamo, since its release in April, has evolved, and now we can mostly tap into most of the objects in Civil 3D, except, unfortunately, for pressure network, just to let you know. Once you go programming in .NET, you never go back. Well, if you want highly advanced workflows, it's possible, yeah. But you can still do a lot with Dynamo, and you can ask the experts who use Dynamo that they can really get excellent results. Need to understand how to build logical structures? Yes, definitely. So these nodes that I will show you later how to do it live, you need to have just a basic understanding of logic and objects. The more one knows, the better, definitely. For those of you who use Dynamo for Revit, it's a little bit different how you use Dynamo for Civil 3D. You have to access the current drawing, you have to access a certain object like a corridor, a baseline, and then work from there onward. But then everything else is exactly the same like Revit, the same process, same nodes, etc. Broader choice of tools, yes, definitely. Dynamo is a generative design tool. What do you think? Is it generative? If you remember the second tier or second level of technology, it's computational. But it's a precursor for the generative design. So the fact is, Dynamo is a computational design tool, but required for generative design. So we know exactly where Dynamo fits in our workflows or our visions for the future. I'm definitely going to share this with you later, so you can have the colors so that you know which are the myths and which are the truth. Very quick introduction. Dynamo has been there with Autodesk since September 2018, right? It was not open for public. The Crux team at Autodesk developed what we call a proof of concept early on. Then the consulting team, they used this Dynamo proof of concept with some of our major customers in the region and worldwide to validate it. And then there was an announcement of Civil 3D with Dynamo in Autodesk University 2018. December 2018, we have Nigel Peters. You can check his material online. He's the transportation manager at Autodesk. The official release, you can say it was around April 2019, right? It was earlier available as a beta feature. You can download it and check it. And we have other lab projects from Autodesk that you can check and test online even before they go into the official production. I'm going to talk about this later, specifically for Project Refinery. So this is just the progression of how things are until we got Dynamo in April 2019. And after that, there are many different updates that I will also let you know about. Now, Dynamo, like it's for Revit, like it's for AutoCAD or any other tool within the Autodesk portfolio, can access certain nodes, certain objects, can read information. That's why you have here, like I can access the layers, the model space, the paper space, where you have the sheets, line types. I can select certain objects, and I can definitely do other things with other objects, right? This is usually updated from Autodesk. You can check it online. So anything that's not, for example, highlighted or has a fill color, it means maybe we can read from it, but not write or create it in the workspace environment. So this is evolving. I'm just letting you know what is possible as of the earlier release. For Civil 3D, when we launched it in April 2019, we were only able to access alignments, corridors, and I guess just a feature line. Yeah, this was it. And then customers who tried it in Europe and in other regions, they said, no, we need to access the other Civil 3D objects. Then came the updates and the other options, and you will see later that all of these are now already available in Dynamo. So Dynamo has really evolved over the past few months for Civil 3D. A quick note on how you can download, install, and try Dynamo. First of all, it's a separate installer. As I mentioned, Dynamo for Revit is not Dynamo for Civil 3D. So if you go to your Autodesk desktop app manager, you have Civil 3D installed. You usually have the notifications here about what's available as an update. You can update it from here. Or else you can go to the top and then go to the web interface where you are able to download the software. So here where you are downloading it. Once you download, install it. And definitely, by the way, it has to be with Civil 3D 2020, right? So it will not work with previous releases. Under the Manage tab, same like Revit, basically, you will have a dedicated ribbon over here. It's called Visual Programming. You will have Dynamo and Dynamo script running, or run Dynamo script. Now, since April, there was another update. So for those of you maybe who tried the previous release, or now they are in a previous release of Civil 3D and Dynamo, you can update to 2.4, and this added many different objects and intelligence to the Dynamo for Civil 3D. We'll talk about it later, but just make sure that you have this, the 2.4. I was checking my laptop yesterday. I updated to 2.4.1. So apparently there are many updates coming every couple of weeks or every couple of months. So where we currently stand is here. Out of the box, you download Dynamo. You open Dynamo for Civil 3D. The nodes that you will get, you have many of them, they will access all of these elements: alignments, corridors, Kogo points, surfaces, and you can do certain things with profiles, feature lines, and other stuff, okay? Which is a great improvement for us as civil engineers, okay? We're going to open Dynamo and see it live together. Yes? Okay. Yeah. So the hatched ones, it means, usually it means that you can read from that object and you can write back, or you can read certain information and create that object in geometry. For some of them, this will be coming. So you can basically read information, but maybe you cannot write back, or you cannot generate that in geometry. So there is limited workflow. It's not like bidirectional. Yeah. Currently, you can read from an alignment details, and you can do things in Dynamo, but you cannot create an alignment out of the box in Dynamo yet. There are other things which I will talk about. If you go one step further with Python, you can do all of this stuff. I'm telling you exactly, if you download Dynamo now, okay, with this update, this is what you will get. But that's a great question, thank you. User interface and terminology. For those who have never seen Dynamo before, it's very simple. Once you open Civil 3D, and let me just show you, maybe live is better. So I have Civil 3D 2020, right? If I go here to the Manage tab, I have Dynamo and run the script. This one is different than the Dynamo script player in Revit. It's still not there yet, but it will come. So you have to basically type in the location of the script, etc., etc. But anyway, Dynamo is working. I fire it up. This is how Dynamo looks like. I can create a new script. I can create a custom node to share with others, open an existing one, and I have many learning platforms or tutorials on how to use Dynamo. Okay? I open new. This is how it looks like. Very simple. I have some ribbon tabs here to manage Dynamo and change some of the settings. I have the AutoCAD objects. All of the features, all of the commands, objects in AutoCAD are supported. And I do have out of the box the Civil 3D available. Okay? Alignment, civil object, Kogo points, etc., as I mentioned. What about the other objects? Well, there is something here called packages. I can search for a package. And this is where, for example, you can search by type. So I wanted this to be for Civil 3D, for Revit, etc. You can search for a certain package and then download it. We'll talk about this later. Here is the model space, or where you create stuff. So you can toggle between the model space, the geometry, right, and the scripting space. I'll come back to this, but this is basically, that's what Dynamo user interface is about. How the scripts look like: we add nodes from this library of existing nodes or from the additional packages. We connect them with wires, and we can group them together to have a certain function. I'm not going to go in details, but just to let you know, it's a simple system. You know, a system needs to have an input and an output, right? And there's a process in the middle. This is how a node looks like. We have a certain input, could be like creating a point, X, Y, Z, and then creating a point in geometry or putting it or saving it in CSV file. These are the building blocks for a Dynamo script. These nodes change in color because, again, it's visual programming, depending on the state of the node. Does it have a warning? Does it have an error message that me, as a designer, I'm not expert in designing, I need to look what is going wrong? Maybe the input is wrong, maybe the output is going wrong, etc., etc. So this one is very helpful for the new guys who are programming with Dynamo. We have many types of code blocks, and each one does a separate function. It's very important with Civil 3D to understand two things in Dynamo. This is, I think, a little bit different than Revit. Ranges, sequences, and lists. Civil 3D saves, the feature lines and the other lines, alignments. We have points, and these are usually saved in lists like database. Tapping into the lists in a certain way and changing the order of the lists or extracting certain information is very important. But there are many nodes dedicated for that inside Dynamo. You can definitely have different groupings so that later on, when you come as a designer, someone created the script, you are using it yourself. You see, for example, this is for debugging. This is for creating an output. This is for the input, reading from a CSV file or reading from a DWG file. So it has many tools to automate the process. Let me just show you very quickly something. I know it's simple and it's not related to maybe infrastructure, but the cool thing about it, let's say I want to have a point. I want to create a point. So I create a point, right? You see here I have the points. You have even symbols. If it's a plus symbol, I'm creating geometry. If it's like a question mark, I'm querying the data. I'm getting information. So let's say I want to create a point by coordinates. One click, I have the node over there. But the point has to have some X, Y, and Z. OK, what about I can either read it from a CSV file, but for simplicity, let's say I have a number slider. This is what you see mostly in most of the Dynamo videos. OK, and this one I can say this needs to be at a step of 100, 0 maximum 1. OK, I can even copy paste. And let's say this point does not have any elevation. OK, and then I want to generate something out of it. If you look here, if I just move this and I go to the geometry, I have created the point here. Maybe it's not shown, but the point is created. If I vary the location of the point, it directly updates. I can, for example, do something more interesting. Let's say a circle. This is how you build a script. It's that simple. Point, center point. I need maybe a code block. And I'll talk about code blocks because this is like another way of scripting with Dynamo. Actually, not this one. Yes, you're right. Let's say 5. Yeah, and then put it into ready. So I've created here a simple circle. What if I want to create like an extrude, right? I have multiple options. Sorry. Okay. And I take the distance. I can have it, let's say, the same. And I create the surface. And there you go. Once I vary something, this is varying the location. This, for example, varying the diameter if I want, and other stuff will update. Let me just put this. Yeah. So it's that simple, right? We can do it with lines, with alignments, with corridors, etc., etc. This is how we code stuff. And then you can save it and share it with other colleagues. This is why we call it visual programming. Now, for those of you who will start new with Dynamo, Civil 3D by default, the 2020 release comes with Dynamo scripts, sample scripts. It also comes with the associated DWG files so that you can open a DWG file and run a script. And also it has an API.NET sample for you for those who want to go one step further. So if I open, I close Dynamo, I will open just a sample file, not new, sample. By the way, if you find any problems opening Dynamo for the first time, it's normal. It will take some time to load, but then it will be OK. Let's take just a simple DWG, like a corridor. I definitely need to fix it and change the code set style here. Click on Dynamo. And I want just to create points. And I hear it from contractors a lot that if we have a BIM model, I want to get the points and their elevations automatically. So I want to open the sample that came with Civil 3D. Sorry, open. And I will add a text and along the corridor, open. So this is how this script is done. I get the corridor, and this is the part that you need to prepare the script for. But this is beyond the scope of this session. We create the text, and then we push it into Civil 3D. This is how the script is working. All what we need to do here, either we make it automatic running or manual. We hit run, and then within few seconds, if we go to the Civil 3D corridor, we should see that everywhere we have a major point, there is a circle, and we have a label. So we have a label and a circle along all of the important points across my corridor. That's one of the benefits of Dynamo, of course. Okay. Where can we use Dynamo? There are many different applications. One of which that the Autodesk team has really worked on is a rail. So you have the control system for the cables, for the poles, for etc. They created some scripts, right, for placing the sleeper of the rail, for creating the masts and applying them to a certain location based on coordinates. They inputted the CSV data because Dynamo for Civil 3D can read from CSV and then populate or align things as per the CSV locations. And this is how the model was created based on Dynamo scripts in 3D, including all of the rail elements. Okay. So you can see these were placed automatically with one single click. You can definitely have criteria, other items. You can have a certain cross-section for the rail tracks themselves, and then you can just extrude it along the alignment of the corridor. And there you go. You have it in 3D. You can quantify it. You can report on it. Here is the CSV file, just an example. You have the item. You have an ID. And based on that ID, I can link it to a certain block in AutoCAD and place that 3D block within my 3D model. So it can vary. It doesn't have to be one single element. It's reading all of the AutoCAD blocks. You end up having a 3D model in no time. Other uses is documentation. So we create a simple script like this, and then we have documentation like the one we've seen, the labels and other stuff as well. Custom reporting. Sometimes we have created a corridor, but we want a certain report to share with the client or a certain report to share with the quantification team or the estimation team. This simple report was also created by one of my Autodesk colleagues, and he was able to create a template CSV file, Excel file, and then populate it with information from the Dynamo script. Once the model updates, this one will update with a single click in Dynamo. Just showing you some of the available options. Modeling and object placement. Like we've seen with Rail, you are able to create 3D objects, right, based on a certain ID and certain requirements, and have them along the alignment or along any other corridor. These definitely are adaptive. So if the model updates, they will update, and you name it. It's including all of the other options. So the wall, the masts, the piles, piers, etc., etc. Highway corridors, same thing. So the barriers, everything that's related basically to what we call city furniture or accessories can also be automated using Dynamo. Whether it's coming from a CSV file or we have our own criteria of where to place those objects along the corridor itself. This is another script just highlighting how the things are done step by step. And by the way, most of these videos are available on the Autodesk YouTube channel. Autodesk Infrastructure YouTube channel, you will find all of these videos with voiceover. The guy who created the script, he's explaining exactly how the scripts work. And then you have all of the city furniture there as per the blocks that you have in AutoCAD. Another use case is, as we said, this one we covered it, external data files. So you can definitely link to CSV files and extract data and generate objects from them. Objects by region, similar, and land development. So anything that's related to surfaces, for example, recently. This example that also another colleague of mine worked on was to create what we call here. You have the opening or the slope where basically pedestrians can get into the sidewalks. So this is usually a time-consuming process, and it involves some surface editing in Civil. He was able to do it with one single click by specifying the requirements and just hitting the Dynamo script to do it, to automate, right? So with one single click, he was able to do it and make all the grading or slopes, etc., etc. So there are really many different ways and benefits we can leverage Dynamo currently in Civil 3D as per the latest update. Okay, that's what's available out of the box with Dynamo. If we want to go one step further and go into more details, Dynamo is built using what we call a design script language. So there is the Dynamo nodes. This is the first level of intelligence. There's the Dynamo script language, which we can use in code blocks, like the one I just seen where I put 5 or 10 myself. I can do some basic scripting. The third level is what we call Iron Python. Python is a programming language, right? We are using Iron Python. It's a simplified version of Python created by Microsoft to link into the .NET framework of our tools like Civil 3D and Revit and others. So you can still, if you have a programmer in your organization, still program things in Iron Python, as you see to the right of the screen, and you can do many other things that are not possible right now as per the latest update, if you want to go much more in detail. It's worth mentioning that this Dynamo is currently working with these tools. So we work with Revit, with AutoCAD, with Civil 3D, with Alias, with Format, and there is a certain sandbox release of Dynamo for testing if you want to test the latest features of Dynamo. Currently, these are the available tools that work with Dynamo perfectly. Okay, just for your information. If you want to go one step further, as I mentioned, so we have the Iron Python, you have the .NET, and you can leverage that as well if need be. One of the things that you can do is managing the Dynamo package manager. So if I go here to Dynamo, you don't have to create everything from scratch. You can type in here, if I have an internet connection. Let's say I want to have Civil 3D. Okay, it's populating. There are many created packages by users like you worldwide, posted online for you to use. So they're available, and you can use them without having to waste a lot of time. I think it's populating. Okay, let it take its time. I'm going to continue with the presentation. So you can definitely go to .NET. You can program in C#, but this is way more advanced than what we have just out of the box in Dynamo. For those of you who asked about, you asked me about the alignments, right? So if you want to expand the capabilities of what you want to do with alignments, we have a very smart guy at Autodesk called Paulo Serra. You can check him online. He's the leader of developing Dynamo for Civil 3D, and he created Python scripts. I'm going to share the presentation. You have the links with videos, how to do more stuff with alignments and other Civil 3D objects, you know, out of the box. So it involves Python scripts, not the standard nodes currently shipped with Dynamo for Civil 3D. So there is one for the corridor from 3D polyline and alignments, and there is one involving corridors from land XMLs, etc., etc. So he's really very powerful in that aspect of customizing things and creating things. I highly recommend that you check the Civil 3D Dynamo Toolkit package. So this is available since I guess a month ago, almost a month ago, and it allows you to access additional Civil 3D objects, right? Again, it's free to download. 50 additional shelves, 500 plus nodes. You can download it from the Dynamo package manager. Let me see if this is working. Okay, perfect. So here, you come to the packages. You check for the existing packages for Dynamo Civil 3D. You just type Toolkit. Yeah. I have the other, yeah. So just let me go back. Okay. Civil 3D Toolkit. It's available there. I forgot what's the name to type it. Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is the one. And then all what you need to do is just click on the icon to download it and install it on your machine. Once you install it, this will show up on your Dynamo. Look what we have currently out of the box coming from Autodesk. Only these items, right? And look what you can access thanks to the work of Paulo Serra from this package. You have Civil 3D Toolkit. You click. You have all AutoCAD objects. You have collaboration. Under collaboration, you have BIM 360. You can link with BIM 360 now. You can link with Forge. You can get photos into your workflows. GIS, mapping functionality, land development, parcels. Those of you who work in master and urban planning, right? You want to work with parcels. It's available there. Pipe networks. But again, this is only drainage so far. Nothing for pipes, pressure pipes. And definitely tunnels. So there are ring design tools, etc., creation tools also available for structural civil projects. Okay? All of this is capable, is available if you download that package. So make sure you go to the package manager and download it from there. Okay. So I think I covered it. Feature lines, parcels, filter map, pipe networks, and tunnels already available. Now, the civil connection package is the package that you talked about yesterday. It's a very powerful package created by our consulting team as well to connect both Civil 3D and Revit, right? Back and forth. Read certain information from Civil, create Revit objects, and vice versa. So it's meant specifically for linear structures in civil projects. And this civil connection used to be a package that's not available for our customers. This is now available for you free of charge to download and leverage. Okay? So these are some of the examples where this package was used. I will share with you again the slides, so we'll have the link to the webinar explaining how you can use it and definitely where you can download it from. However, before I talk about this, this is not a package that works in Dynamo for Civil 3D. This is a package that works for Dynamo inside Revit. So if you, for example, come here, this is why I'm highlighting the difference. If you come here and you try to check for civil connection, this is not for Civil 3D. It's only working for Revit. Okay? So I have to click on Revit, open Revit, and go there to find the civil connection. Because you'll be frustrated if you download it and then you do not find it there showing up in your Dynamo for Civil 3D environment. The other thing which our Autodesk Consulting did is that not just by having the details about the Dynamo scripts that were used for this package and where to download it, they've also created a manual, a linear structures workflow guide on how to design linear structures, okay, using this package. It's really very powerful, like 70 pages of detailed information. And you can access it from this link. Okay? Some of you are taking pictures, so feel free. You have the package and you have the manual for it as well. So you should have the latest update of Dynamo 2.4 or 2.4.1. You better have the Toolkit package by Paulo Serra for all the other objects. And we also recommend that you download the Civil Connection package for Revit to have this seamless integration between Civil 3D and Revit altogether. Okay? 3 major things that you have keep in mind. What this package does, it's many, many, many things. I've highlighted the most important ones, all under the theme of exchanging data between Civil 3D and Revit, specifically for linear structure. Sorry, I'm rushing in time because I have many slides, and I still have like 10-15 minutes. One of the early adopters of this package, when it was not available for customers, was Atkins, and they've created this gabion wall, parametric gabion wall that adjusts based on information from Civil 3D and creating the 3D model of Revit families inside Revit. So this is one of the benefits of this package. Okay, so generative design. Many of you heard about generative design for buildings or master planning or urban plan, right? This is what you see from Autodesk. Finally, we have generative design for infrastructure, and this was released like a month ago. So we have the same project, which is Project Refinery. Back to this chart, right? So second from top, we have Project Refinery. It used to work perfectly with Revit. Now we can use Project Refinery, Dynamo, and Civil 3D to generate multiple options for our infrastructure project. Same process. How that works, we gather the data, we define the model inside Civil 3D, we push the model into computational strategy in Dynamo, we set our parameters, etc. We push it to Project Refinery, and then we have multiple options. We evaluate, and then we are finally coming to the final outcome. I'm just going to show you an example, quick example. And again, this was also created by Paulo Serra, the same expert guy from Autodesk who's working on developing Dynamo for Civil 3D. A quick example. We have a project, a long alignment that we want to connect point A to point B, right? So that is, for example, my first option. I do have certain let's say, obstacles in here, I have a certain boundary. So I can create my first option, I can create my second option using Dynamo plus Project Refinery, and finally I can get to the final model. So you specify the parameters and constraints, again, as I mentioned. From within Dynamo of Civil 3D, you open Project Refinery, you specify the parameters, what we call genes in generative design terminology, and then you specify how many iterations or how many individuals in your population, how many options of design you would like to see. In this case, I want to see 100 different alignments as per my criteria. You click it, and within a few minutes, you will get the 100 options, like we've seen for the building side, right? We see them visually, and we see also the scatter graph and the other graphs for us to evaluate. Definitely, once this is done, we can select one of the options and push it back into Dynamo and definitely into Civil 3D for refining. So this is one best way. This script with the Project Refinery thing was created by this guy in 6 hours. It's not really difficult to do, but he told me that it's mandatory that you know exactly what you're doing with Dynamo. So Dynamo is the base, and then you can leverage the Project Refinery. I think for me it will take 6 months, but for him it took 6 hours. I don't know how. Yeah. The other good example, this is one of my colleagues. I'm proud to say he's also Lebanese, but he's living in France. He created this connection between Civil 3D, Dynamo, Revit, and robot structures. So if you have a bridge, you can basically take the alignment from Civil 3D into Dynamo, right? And create parametric objects, I think it's playing, yeah, in Dynamo to change the cable state bridge, each individual object within the Dynamo environment, connect Dynamo to robot structures to check for cable stress ratio, deflection, and total weight. Some of the parameters apparently that he was looking for. So you can see here, he's changing the model from Dynamo. Each iteration was pushed into robot structures. He was analyzing this in robot structures, and he was getting the results back numerically into the, yes, here, the results in Dynamo. So once he changes something in Dynamo, the results here will update, right? He will get the updated results and check if they're acceptable or not acceptable, because also in Dynamo you can put if-else statements, etc., etc. Then what he did, after selecting a certain, he sent it to Project Refinery, and he asked the generative design algorithm of Autodesk to optimize or send few iterations of the design. So this is what the Project Refinery came up with. Same story, checking the total weight, the stress, the deflection, pick a certain item that satisfies the requirements, and then that object or that model will be pushed for final design. It still needs definitely some refinement. You're not going to do everything in generative design. As I mentioned, it's just an optioneering tool, just generating multiple options. So these are the major two ways that are currently done in generative design. I highly recommend that if you want to try generative design yourself, let me see if I have internet connections working. There is something at Autodesk that we call Autodesk Futures. Futures Forum. Okay, I better get the link light. But if you check for Google, you will have a platform from Autodesk called Autodesk Futures Forum. I should have provided the link here. Once you click on that website, there is an icon. You click on it. Autodesk will ask you, please create an account. You create an account with just your name and details. You're working for which company. And then you just have to read a small article saying that we will entitle you to try the generative design tool for free, by the way. But it's up to you to do whatever you want with it, and we don't guarantee the results. It's kind of because it's under testing right now. So you can, yeah. Autodesk Futures Forum. I think I've typed it wrong. That's why it did not show. I think, yeah, it's Autodesk. I can send it to you actually by email. By the way, how many of you are interested about generative design for infrastructure, please? Would like to try? Both hands. Okay, perfect. We have some of our sales guys also interested. Perfect. Okay, so what I will do. Okay. I had this hidden, so I'm gonna unhide it. Okay. I don't know how many people will attend my session. So I've created a folder on OneDrive, and I've taken the sharing link from it. And I plan to upload my material there so that anyone who is interested can download the presentation and the links that I will add later. I'm sorry, yes, it's a long link, but at least I have some way of communicating with those who attended my session. Okay. Disclaimer, expect the material to be there by Thursday, okay? Not today, by Thursday. If you click it now, it's empty. Okay. All done. Okay. The last thing that I will share with you is that, yes, it's visual programming. Yes, it's simple to use, but for everything, there's a learning curve. Even if you know Civil 3D very well, once you move into the Dynamo environment, and this is what I faced personally, is that you need to understand certain things, how Dynamo works, how the codes or the nodes works, how to access the Civil 3D file and extract information. So there's a certain workflow that you should go through. And I highly recommend that you check the top 3 resources. We have dynamobem.org, we have Dynamo Primer, and definitely Autodesk University recorded sessions. You know, all of the sessions at AU, Vegas, and some of the other events as well are recorded and available online for download. Okay. Dynamo Primer is a perfect starting point. It's a PDF document. I think it's like 200 pages, I guess. And I will also include it in the material which I will upload. So if you go to the Dynamo folder, which I will upload for you guys, you will have Dynamo Primer, 120 megabytes file. And yeah, sorry, it's 563 pages, I know. But let's say you want to know something about Dynamo in regards to nodes. You click on nodes, and there you go. Some of the stuff I showed you already. So it's a perfect manual for Dynamo. It will be uploaded for you as well. So again, these are the top 3. If you want to go more into details, you can get to the GitHub, to the Dynamo scripts, etc., etc. Okay. Now, any questions? I know it was too much material. I was rushing to finish it, but this was my opportunity to tell you what happened with Dynamo, right, as of this year. The material will be there. Please feel free to ask any questions. Yes? Okay. I completely understand your point. Yeah. It's like when people ask me, why do we have over 25 tools in the EC collection, right? Or I completely understand your point. Yeah, the thing with Dynamo is when the product development team are developing Dynamo for Revit, they need to be experts in Revit. When they're developing it for Civil 3D, they need to be experts in Civil 3D. So these experts are not usually the same experts. So this is why you have separate builds for the separate software. Yeah. Yes, I'm not sure I understood what you said at last, but yeah, it's packages that work with a certain software. This is what I mentioned, the Civil Connection package, which you mentioned yesterday regarding the structures. It's on top of Revit. So even if I check it now in Civil 3D, it will not work. I have to go into Revit, fire Dynamo from Revit, and then I'll find it there under my packages. Yeah. Yes. True. Yeah. Okay. I completely understand. I wish I had the power to develop or change things, but you know, this is like development teams and company policy. However, I know that there are forums from Autodesk where you can go and post your idea. We call it Idea Station. So you can post your idea and people will go online and vote. If many people vote on it that it's a recommended feature or development, Autodesk will definitely implement. But I will raise your point whenever I meet the guys. It's definitely, yeah, logical. Any other questions? Sorry, I cannot hear you. Yes. Oh, the shirt. Okay. Which one? I mean, what I will do, I will check with the marketing team and check whoever registered for the the session. But usually some people register late and we don't have them. That's why I did this. That's why I had actually this one. Okay, one of my colleagues. No. It's actually long though. Be ready. But it's shorter, so. Nice. Double. And let's trim it a little bit and make it like this, I think. Okay. .com. Whatever. So I'm sorry, this is my name. I mean, this is my first name, family. What? You can blame my parents or grandparents for it. But it's shorter, yeah, it's shorter. So you can definitely email me. But if I take some time to reply back, I apologize. I really get so many emails. This is why I prefer the OneDrive folder. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up? Thank you very much. Thank you.